What is up, everybody? It's your boy KJ here, and in this video, we're going to be talking about what's going on in crypto right now. We will be covering all the most recent news from a technical as well as a fundamental perspective. First thing I'm going to be doing is discussing the major stuff that's happening right now. We're talking GBTC, Grayscale, Genesis, everything surrounding that. I'm also going to be discussing my thoughts on FTX and that implosion, as well as the FTX hacker and what that means for the market. Lastly, what is the connection between CZ and all of this? If you haven't been keeping up to date in the past half an hour, CZ has made a very provocative tweet. I will be discussing that. And lastly, I'll cover what I think about JPMorgan's bombshell that they dropped on us yesterday. So make sure to stick around to the end. The last segment, I will be going over the charts and how I think we should be playing this from a trader or investor perspective. And if you like these videos, make sure to press that like button, subscribe. I'm going to be coming at you with these as often as possible. I want to keep you guys in tune. Obviously, we are in a bear market still. If this dip surprised you, I suggest you go back to my last video, the Schmidt cycle, because frankly, for me, the dip itself is not surprising. I was expecting a move like this. The manner in which it happened, like as far as FTX and that whole thing, completely took me off guard. I was in the air on my way to fight Barney the boy in Dubai.
Oh, swinging now is it?
And I got off the plane and all of a sudden all hell had broken loose. And so picture me, I was just on a 12-hour flight, completely jet lagged, and I'm starting to catch up with everything that I'm seeing. And at that point in time, you had basically Sam was radio silent on Twitter for 24 hours.
Sam?
The CZ stuff had already been dropped. CZ had dropped that gauntlet on them. And I was just thinking, this has Black Swan written all over it, frankly. And it's just to be out there in Dubai and be around crypto people that were severely hurt by this. It's just the worst thing I've seen in my 5-6 years of crypto or whatever. People that played the cycle perfectly and had significant amounts of stable sitting on FTX just got blown out. It was like the Thanos snap. Half the market got crushed in one shot. So, for anybody that's been affected by this, my heart goes out to you completely and fully. And, it, not to be cliche, but it does kind of reinforce the lesson: not your keys, not your crypto. That's why it's so important not to allow these big centralized exchanges to, essentially be your custodians. Get yourself a ledger, get yourself a trace or whatever. I have no preference. And get your coins into your own pocket, because as we've seen time and time again, the person that you think you can trust is the most greedy. And it's just unfortunate element of human nature. But it's not the last time this is going to happen. So make sure to protect yourselves. But without any further ado, let's get into what's going on right now in the market. You may be hearing about Genesis, Grayscale, Digital Currency Group. If you don't know what's going on with that, Genesis is DCG's prime broker and is facing risks of a bank run. They already halted withdrawals. That's the first bad sign. Services that were powered through Genesis, like Gemini's Gemini Earn program, were also shut down. Now they might need to liquidate their loans, and some might end up being very illiquid, as we've seen. Some of the books on like these larger players is just not what you think. It's really all kind of like the Wizard of Oz thing. When you peek behind the curtain, it's not as impressive as you thought. And some of the Genesis counterparties for their deals might have already blown up in the course of the you have Luna, 3AC, now FTX. This entire arch, there's going to be a lot of corpses floating to the surface. And you saw this with Luna and 3AC, where you had Celsius and crypto.com, Voyager, Blockfi. But after the main Black Swan event, then you start to see other big players that were severely hurt by that, and it takes time for these things to come to the light. So this is going to add additional pressure, and this is where the additional potential $1 billion hole for Grayscale comes from, or Genesis rather, sorry. So initially, Barry was looking to raise $1 billion. Yesterday, he lowered it to 500 million. And you saw the market bounce a little bit. I'm not really sure what to make of that. There has been some speculation in regards to how Barry made up for 50% of the capital that he was looking to raise. But personally, I don't know, and I don't care to guess why. My thoughts on this is, 500 million doesn't seem like too large of a number for someone to come up with, be it a group of people, whatever the case may be. It would be very, very concerning if they went into bankruptcy and nobody kind of bailed them out. So I guess we have to ask these questions now. Will DCG be able to save its subsidiary by raising the required money? That's obvious question number one. They're going to need more than the whole because Genesis will still need capital to operate, all while the current market conditions make the business very difficult to operate and less profitable. It's not a bull market. They can't just make it all back. Liquidity is down. The amount of interest is down. There's all sorts of factors accounting to a tougher environment for crypto businesses in general. So, the whole thing is in jeopardy if they can't come up with the new money. Grayscale Trust might have to be wound down. This would result in a huge amount of spot BTC and to a lesser extent Ethereum coming back and hitting the market. And the discount between GBTC and regular Bitcoin USD is about 50%. So between GBTC and BTC, that gap would probably close in this scenario. So if this happens, there may be a nice spread trade to be made, or pair trade to be made between GBTC and BTC, where you'd kind of see GBTC rising up to meet BTC going down. So potentially in that scenario, you would be looking to short Bitcoin on versus USD and be longing GBTC or buying. But that's a trading thing, nice little arbitrage opportunity. So what is CZ talking about? CZ just tweeted this about a half an hour ago. So Coinbase custody holds 635K Bitcoin for Grayscale. 4 months ago, Coinbase, I assume exchange, has less than 600,000 Bitcoin. Just stating news reports, not making any claims. Glassnode probably has more up-to-date data. And Alistair Milne responded, custody is a separate entity from the exchange. So basically he's saying that the custody is not the same. It's not the same wallet as the exchange wallet. CZ, I assume that's the case, which means their custody business holds more coins than the exchange. So he's being very provocative in these tweets. And, we all know what happened the last time he was provocative to FTX specifically. But you're now seeing him come after, in my opinion, the most trusted and let's not get political because I know I don't have the best feelings about Coinbase, but if like a family member came to me and was like, hey, where should I buy my Bitcoin? I don't want to do a wallet. I want to store it. Like if I had to pick one American exchange that I felt safe about, it would have been Coinbase, even over FTX. And like that's all things aside. I was lucky. I never touched FTX. For whatever reason, like I just didn't really trust Sam. Not that I thought this is what was going to happen, but I just felt like he was going to be kind of exploiting the traders on there, and I just didn't want to play in his casino. But Coinbase is now kind of the last bastion of crypto exchanges in America that you're supposed to be able to trust, and CZ is now going after them. So what does this mean? I don't necessarily I think Coinbase is here to stay. I don't think they're going to get blown out in this. But what's interesting to me is kind of when you tie in, and this is me basically not projecting, but analyzing the behavior of the market and the media and what's happened with FTX. I have this suspicion that you're going to see the US government or the SEC strike back at Binance and CZ. This is what I'm concerned about, because when you look at how the mainstream media has handled this crime, this is punishable by death, frankly.
Dracarys.
The amount of people, like my best friend's mother had all of her Bitcoin. We're talking about a significant amount as well that she had been stacking since 2017. She had it all on FTX, and completely wiped out. And there's many such stories. I know personally plenty of traders that had 7 figures that they had been grinding and grinding and grinding on FTX and just gone. So, this is the most disgusting thing that I've seen in crypto in probably ever. And the way the media and the mainstream media has been reporting it with these puff pieces, I mean, here's the Forbes example. And this headline, I saw it, I thought it was ice bags, this guy on Twitter who does parodies making it up. But this was a real headline where Alameda Research CEO Caroline Ellison is a math whiz who loves Harry Potter and taking big risks. She is also one of the supporting players in SBF's catastrophe and a new darling of the alt-right. New darling.
I say that you're a terrible reporter. That's what I say.
Like, when I read that, I almost spit my coffee out. Like, I can't believe that these people actually thought to put that in print. But it's just indicative of, you saw Washington Post, I believe New York Post, New York Times, even the Wall Street Journal, the way they were writing about this, they were saying crazy stuff about Sam, about how it's a shame he's not going to be able to do his philanthropy. And, they weren't calling it what it was, which was the worst scam that we've seen thus far. And just a horrific event. And it pretty much shows that he's got mainstream media, powerful people, the government in his pocket, or is just tied in with them. I mean, I'm not to be conspiracy theorist, but how do you lose that much money anyway? Like, where did it go? If you really want to go down the rabbit hole, maybe I'll do another video on that. But there's a lot of, I don't want to get kicked off of YouTube either, but there's a lot of strange stuff happening around the FTX thing in general. And it's kind of safe to say that, Sam is very well tied. The fact that he's not in jail right now is kind of unreal. So yeah, what I'm expecting is some sort of retaliation by the US government or the SEC against CZ and Binance. And now, what would that do? I don't know. We've seen the SEC kind of go after people before, like EOS and XRP. They tend to go after the businesses that try to cooperate the most, strangely enough. But usually it's a slap on the wrist, $5 million, $10 million. This guy's printing that money a day. So it shouldn't make too much of a difference. And Binance already technically isn't supposed to be operating in America as it is. You have Binance US, but most of their business is being done on their flagship exchange, Binance. And, just because the US government goes after them, I don't think it's going to really have a long-term effect on anything. However, like in January of 2021, when the SEC went after XRP, and that thing dumped like over 50%, Bitcoin dumped, the whole market dumped off that news. It could create enough panic to break the support that we're at right now. So, for me, I'd be very, very cautious and keep an eye on the news as far as, what's going to happen with CZ, because I'm expecting some sort of retaliation. So moving forward, yesterday in a surprise announcement, JPMorgan, good old Jamie Dimon, announced that they have a patent for a crypto wallet called JPMorgan Wallet. Wow, that's incredible.
We don't care.
Let me tell you,
We don't care.
I mean, it's kind of interesting that they would be doing this in the background. Meanwhile, the CEO, Jamie Dimon, is sitting here talking about how crappy crypto is and how worthless it is and how bad it's going to crash and burn. Meanwhile, in the background, they're building kind of like a dollar store MetaMasks for themselves. So it's pretty clear that, big players are... Listen, before I go any further, I just want to establish one thing. All right? Crypto is not going anywhere, okay? Like, for me, for the last 2 years, I've been waiting for the majority of, at least not the majority, but at least like a good amount of people to kind of question, is crypto going to survive? Like, you cannot have a bottom of a bear market until at least like half of the participants are legitimately questioning, is crypto going to survive? And like, I felt like in major dumps in the past years, there was always that element of like, holy shit, is this going to just go away? And even though like price is down, we still didn't really feel that until FTX. And now that has transpired, you're kind of feeling it. You're feeling it a little bit. And, not to make light of what's happening, but it's a good thing. And at the end of the day, like for me, I'm sticking to the plan. Like I said, make sure to go watch the Schmidt video. I'll put the link in the description. But I think the next 6 months is going to be the best opportunity you can get to invest in crypto and other risk assets, not just crypto. Like, pay attention to stocks. There is a scenario where stocks run first and crypto is kind of like doing nothing, where you're going to want to play that if that starts to happen. But for me, I think the next 6 months will be the best time to invest in markets. And none of this is going to change my mind. I have my plan. I'm sticking to it. So as far as like JPMorgan wallet, it doesn't mean anything for the immediate future, but it just further confirms my belief that you know, the big players are taking this seriously. They understand that the toothpaste is out of the tube and crypto is not going away. So yeah. So lastly, let's look at the charts. I made a tweet about this one. So here you have Bitcoin in a range since June. So 5 months of a range, whichever direction you get breaking out of this. So like this was like I mean, in retro, very, very clear, retest of this. See, couldn't get above there. That's bearish, right? And then you get the rejection candle. But you have this range that's been established for 5 months, and then you put in this candle with massive, massive volume that completely breaks the range with force, and it's accompanied by one of the worst fundamental events that you can imagine. However, when you zoom out, like on Coinbase, this is massive, massive volume. I think it's only like, if you compared like COVID lows, these two weeklies combined was probably more, but from like a historical perspective, the volume on this is quite significant. So does it mean that this is a climax? It could be. It could be, actually. And I'm going to give you some bullish hopium here, okay? Because normally when a range like this breaks, I tend not to fade it. And I do believe you have to kind of be leaning bearish here. If this is the bottom, it has to do something to prove it. And by prove it, I mean it needs to close weeklies back in this range and then go sideways. So you would see some sort of, I don't think we're just running it back turbo straight. I think you would have to see some sort of reclaim and then sideways again. And then we could start to do something like this, right? That's like your bullish scenario. That's pretty much, I think we're going to get something like this, but not as soon. We may go down a bit lower first. However, the bullish hopium for me is when we zoom in. You see this MA right here? This is the 360 on the weekly, just a simple moving average. And it came into existence on the November 2021 and hasn't been interacted with at all. And typically what I've noticed is when you get new MAs, the first time they're interacted with, they usually yield a pretty strong reaction. So if you look at where it's currently located, it's at 15.1. Based off of the lack of liquidity and what's going on these derivative exchanges, I wouldn't be surprised to see it go slightly below. So like 15 is a nice round number. You're looking like maybe high 14s, somewhere in that range to yield like a nice bounce. I know, like looking at the weekly right now, it looks kind of decent, like a hammer doji, but it's only Tuesday, so we got a lot of time to go, and the spread isn't that big. So I'd be keeping an eye on this. But me personally, like, I'm looking for this level to get hit and see how it reacts there. I think it's worth taking a shot. Obviously, if we are to just nuke through this and get follow through, like a daily close significantly below or something like that, then honestly, like, you just don't, I wouldn't knife catch until you get like probably 10 to 12K Bitcoin, somewhere in that range. And the catalyst for something like this is bad news. So like Grayscale bankruptcy combined with CZ being subpoenaed by the SEC or something like that. Something with Binance and SEC could cause a break of this, or some other big player that we're not even thinking about yet coming, like under heat, that got hurt by FTX, or just the overall action of the market hurt somebody that we didn't expect, and now they have to liquidate. the market is bearish and it can't really handle bad news too well. That being said, yesterday we did kind of get the intensification of Genesis bankruptcy, and Bitcoin only went down about like a couple $100. So it's starting to show signs of exhaustion. There were buyers down there as well. So, for me, I think you're still in a wait and see approach. If you're an investor and like let's say you're a new guy and you're just thinking about it, like you're in the driver's seat here. You have to buy. You buy like whatever, 30% of what you're looking to invest, and then you wait and see what happens. But, if you're someone else like most of us that are already in the space have exposure, have some USDT on the side. You don't want to blow it all here, but it does make sense to kind of start to nibble. I like playing that level around 15, high 14s, but that's just for the sake of being precise. If you're doing it with spot, like it's not going to make too much of a difference between 15.6 and 1500, 15K. I mean, not too big of a deal. Like you're basically playing this area and hoping that that MA holds. The other thing is when we look at BNB, like this is not great, okay? And BNB's been like the barometer. It used to be Litecoin, but now I kind of feel like BNB is a good barometer for the overall health of crypto. And like when you look at the weekly it put in the week of FTX, like this is not great. That being said, the volume wasn't horrible, but you could see like BNB getting delisted at places. I'm not trying to cause FUD, but just this is what I'm anticipating. Something bad's gonna happen with Binance, and this guy could potentially break down. So if you start to see this breaking down, that could be people front running the news. So keep an eye. If I were you, I'd keep this at the top of your watch list. Keep an eye on BNB. And if this starts to break down, it's very bad. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking. As far as Bitcoin, I'm watching for 15K. I think we can get a nice bounce there. It's playable. If that doesn't hold, then yeah, we're looking at much lower. But for that to happen, I would expect some really nasty news. So that's our show for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Tried to be as quick as possible and informative. If you liked the video, make sure to smash up that like button for me. Let me get some likes, subscribe, and stay tuned. I will be coming out with another video this week as well as a live stream. And I'm excited to share my thoughts, analysis, and funny stories with you guys. Have a good one.